The Krell consensus did not understand laughter, but they understood doom. For 3 centuries, they had dissected humanity's transmissions, the screams of wars, the whimpers of climate collapse, the droning hymns of politics, and deemed the species predictable, fragile. A chaos of meat and melancholy, easily digested. But then came the anomalies, a plague of dancing feline holograms interrupting their invasion coordinates, a surge of garbled audio titled U-Kid Epic Fail Compilation Volume 420, asterisk, and most perplexing, a single missive from Earth's directorate, encoded not in threats or treaties, but in asterisk memes, asterisk. The Krell's pheromone networks fizzed with analysis, their logic hives parsed the imagery, cats in hats crying soy jacks, a man in a neon tracksuit endlessly running, and categorized it as psychological warfare, a crude attempt to destabilize, yet their algorithms faltered at the edges, unease seeping into the hive mind. What was the tactical value of a cartoon frog? Why did the humans pair images of exploding stars with text that read "Dalchwan, you forget your coffee"? The consensus concluded it was a species-wide nervous breakdown, a final surrender to madness. They were wrong. The Krell did not know that humans had spent millennia weaponizing absurdity, that laughter was both shield and scalpel. They could not comprehend the girl who'd coded a dancing eggplant into their supply logs, or the engineer who'd hidden a kazoo solo in their navigation AI. Most of all, they failed to grasp the diplomat with a briefcase full of spite and glitter, whose greatest sin and salvation was believing that even the universe's coldest logic could be cracked open by a good joke. But they would learn. Some truths cannot be translated, only endured. Chapter 1. The air in New Buenos Aires tasted like rust and regret. Rico Vega stepped over a fracture in the sidewalk, his boots crunching on shards of glass that glittered like the debris of a civilization too tired to sweep itself up. The city was a corpse, its bones picked clean by heat waves and hyperstorms, its skyline a jagged silhouette against the perpetual orange haze of a sun that no longer knew mercy. He kept his gaze low, avoiding the hollow-eyed stares of refugees huddled under holographic billboards that still flickered with ads for luxury moon condos and synthetic protein shakes. "With your best apocalypse," one chirped, its neon pink text clashing with the gray despair beneath it. Rico's fingers twitched toward the silver briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. Inside, nestled between foam padding, were the tools of his new trade: glitter bombs rigged to explode in fractal patterns, meme projectors loaded with century-old viral absurdities, and a single unopened can of Surge trademark soda, a relic from his teenage years, preserved like a sacrament. The briefcase was lighter than the guilt he carried, but only just. He remembered the memes. Oh God. He remembered. Back when the internet still had a pulse, he'd been at Rico Blaze king of the shitposters, architect of chaos. He'd turned climate disaster into punchlines, war into vaporwave edits, and grief into a series of dancing hamster gifs. It was easier that way. Laughter was a gas mask for the soul, but when the gas cleared, all that remained were the faces he'd mocked, the truths he'd flattened into jokes. A decade ago, a wildfire had swallowed his hometown, and the last tweet he'd sent that day was a looping video of a dumpster fire captioned "Dishan, when your life is lit." His sister's name was still tagged in the replies. Now, the United Earth Directorate had given him a title to replace the handle, ambassador, a joke only the universe could have written. The Krell embassy loomed ahead, a grotesque fusion of biology and architecture, a spire of chitinous black resin, its surface rippling with faint bioluminescent pulses. It breathed, or seemed to, exhaling puffs of pheromone-laced mist that made Rico's sinuses burn. The Krell didn't build *, they grew * their conquests. Their diplomats weren't envoys but extensions of the Queen's will, antenna twitching to the rhythm of a hive mind that viewed individuality as a genetic error. Rico paused at the entrance, his reflection warped in the embassy's oily exterior. The man staring back was a stranger, clean-shaven, hair tamed into a semblance of order, suit tailored to hide the tremor in his hands. Only his eyes betrayed him, dark, restless, the eyes of a man who'd spent too long laughing at the void, and was now afraid it might laugh back. Inside, the air was thicker, cloying, like walking into a lung. The walls throbbed with veins of glowing amber fluid, and the floor gave slightly underfoot, as if he were treading on the tongue of some colossal beast. A Krell emissary awaited him, its segmented body coiled on a platform of living cartilage. It had no face, just a smooth carapace etched with faint glyphs that shifted like stock tickers, pheromone tweets translated into something approximating language. Ambassador Vega. The translator collar around Rico's neck droned, toneless. Lubricant sessions. Amusing. Rico set the briefcase on the spongy ground. The Krell's antenna quivered, detecting the pheromone equivalent of a raised eyebrow. You guys love amusing, don't you? Rico said, tapping the briefcase's biometric lock. It hissed open, revealing rows of glitter cartridges. Last century, we called that a crush. The emissary's glyphs flickered. Lubricant session, your ultimatum is irrelevant. Your species lacks cohesion. You are noise. Noise. Yeah, Rico knew about noise. Noise was the white static between truths, the scream you buried under a punchline. Noise was what happened when a planet full of terrified primates tried to agree on anything except their own extinction. He activated the meme projector. A hologram erupted between them. A cat wearing a tiny space helmet, floating serenely past a spinning Earth, followed by a montage of asteroid impacts, set to the asterisk Trololo asterisk song. Absurd. Childish. Deliberately so. The Krell recoiled, their pheromone tweets spiking into jagged red patterns. Confusion. Irritation. Good. This isn't a threat, Rico said, his voice steady, despite the acid creeping up his throat. It's a asterisk translation asterisk. You think we're fractured? Unpredictable. You're right, but that's not weakness, it's creative variance. He tossed a glitter bomb into the air. It detonated silently, showering the chamber with prismatic dust that clung to the Krell's carapace. The emissary shuddered, its glyphs scrambling into incoherence. Nobrician, you mock us, asterisk. No, Rico said, closing the briefcase. We're asterisk warning asterisk you. Keep raiding our colonies, and we'll stop pretending we're civilized. You don't want that. Meyer. Later. Aboard the shuttle to Mars, Rico pressed his forehead to the cold glass of the viewport, and watched Earth shrink into a smudged marble. The briefcase sat beside him, humming faintly. He'd meant what he'd said to the Krell. Mostly. The problem with warnings was that nobody listened until it was too late. His wrist pad buzzed. A message from Lieutenant Amara Patel, clipped and efficient as always. Nobrician signal intercepts confirmed. Krell fleet mobilizing toward Mars. ETA 72 HRRs. Asterisk Dibrician. You sure about this? He wasn't. He'd never been sure about anything except the ache in his chest whenever he thought of her. Her sharp laugh, the way she'd smack his shoulder when he made a dumb joke. The last fight they'd had before she'd shipped out to the Martian trenches. You turn everything into a gag, she'd said, her voice fraying. Nobrician even us. He typed back, Nobrician positive, keep your head down, Nobrician, and Amara. He deleted the rest. The shuttle shuddered as it breached the Martian atmosphere, the window filling with ochre dunes, and the skeletal remains of old terraforming rigs. Somewhere down there, human soldiers crouched in rust-colored ghillie suits, their rifles painted to blend with the dust, waiting. Rico's reflection stared back at him, blurred by the planet's haze. For a moment, he saw the ghost of Rico Blaze grinning in the glass, all teeth and no soul. Time to uncivilize, he whispered. The briefcase clicked open. Chapter 2. The dunes of Mars were not dunes at all, they were corpses, mountains of iron oxide, ground to dust by millennia of howling winds, their rusted particles clotting the air like the ashes of a dead god. Rico stepped off the shuttle ramp into the storm, his boots sinking into the red silt that whispered of buried bones and forgotten wars. The sky hung low, a bruise of ochre and umber, and the horizon trembled under the weight of the Krell fleet, swarms of jagged bioships, their hulls glistening like wet obsidian. They moved like locusts, they moved like fate. He adjusted his respirator, the stale tang of recycled oxygen bitter on his tongue. Behind him, the shuttle's engines whined as it retreated to orbit, leaving him alone with the ghosts of a planet that had never wanted them. Mars had been a graveyard long before humans arrived. Now it would be a battleground. The ghillie suit chafed his neck, its frayed fabric dyed the color of dried blood. It smelled of sweat and gun oil and the faint metallic sting of fear. Rico crouched behind a skeletal ridge of basalt, his gloved fingers brushing the dust to reveal the half-buried carcass of a terraforming drone. Its corroded hull still bore the faded logo of a corporate sponsor, New Eden Solutions *. He snorted. Humanity's greatest trick was selling hope while the world burned. A flicker of movement in his peripheral vision. A soldier materialized from the haze, her suit blending seamlessly with the landscape, until she shifted, the fabric's adaptive camouflage rippling like water. She didn't speak. No one did. Not here. Communication was a series of hand signals, a language of twitches and pauses. Enemy patrol, 200 meters. Hold position. Rico nodded, though he wasn't sure she saw. The silence was a living thing, heavy and suffocating, pressing down until even breathing felt like a betrayal. He wondered if Amara was out there. The thought arrived unbidden, sharp as a shiv. Lieutenant Amara Patel, her dark hair shorn to a practical buzz, her eyes the color of monsoon clouds, the scar on her jaw from the Battle of Ceres, the one she'd refused to let the medbots erase. Remandar, she'd said, though of what she never clarified. They'd spent 3 years orbiting each other like binary stars, close enough to burn, too distant to touch. The last time he'd seen her, she'd been standing in the rain outside the directorate's compound, her uniform soaked through, shouting something about responsibility over the thunder. He'd laughed. He always laughed. Now the memory tasted like copper. A low hum vibrated through the ground. The Krell scouts emerged from the storm, their chitinous limbs clicking against the rocks. They moved in perfect sync, a dozen bodies sharing a single mind, their movements precise, alien, devoid of hesitation. Rico's pulse quickened. The briefcase at his side felt heavier, its contents suddenly absurd. Glitter bombs against a hive mind, memes against genocide. What the hell are we doing here? The soldier beside him raised a fist. Wait. Rico's wrist pad glowed faintly, a coded message from command. Revan Pays 1 engaged. Distraction active. Distraction, right. That's all he'd ever been. The first explosion tore through the valley, a column of fire and dust blooming like a flower. Krell scouts scattered, their pheromone tweets spiking into frantic crimson patterns. Human drones emerged from hidden crevices, their engines silent, their wings slicing through the haze. They moved not as machines but as a flock, darting and weaving in patterns too chaotic for the hive mind to predict. Rico watched mesmerized, as the drones herded the Krell into kill zones, their movements a ballet of controlled chaos. Creative variance. That's what he'd called it. The soldier tapped his shoulder, pointing to a fissure in the rock. Move. They crawled through the labyrinth of stone, the air thick with the acrid stench of burning chitin. The Krell were adapting, their scouts regrouping, their pheromone signals stabilizing. Rico's wrist pad buzzed again. Phase 2. Sabotage. Proceed to grid Gamma 7. Gamma 7. The heart of the Krell's advance. A nest of bio-artillery, pulsing like tumors in the Martian soil. He followed the soldier, his knees grinding against rock, his breath ragged. The suit's filters were failing, the dust seeping in, coating his throat. He thought of Amara again, her hands steady on a rifle, her voice calm in the chaos. You don't get to joke your way out of this, Rico. Not anymore. They reached the ridge overlooking Gamma 7. Below, the Krell had erected a grotesque cathedral of flesh and bone, a spire of sinew throbbing with viscous fluid, its surface studded with organic cannons. The air buzzed with pheromones, a suffocating musk that made Rico's eyes water. The soldier handed him a detonator, her gaze steady. Do it. Rico hesitated. The briefcase felt alive in his hands, humming with pent-up absurdity. He opened it, bypassing the biometric lock with a twist of his wrist. Inside, nestled between meme cartridges, was a single glitter bomb labeled Bag Party Favor. He'd designed it himself. He lobbed the bomb into the valley. For a moment nothing, then light, a supernova of prismatic shards, fractal patterns blooming in the air, refracting the dim Martian sun into a kaleidoscope of nonsense. The Krell froze, their pheromone tweets stuttering. Rico pressed the detonator. The bio-artillery erupted in a symphony of viscera. The soldier gripped his arm, her signal urgent. Retreat. They ran. The ground shuddered, the sky screaming with Krell bioships. Rico's lungs burned, his vision blurring. He didn't see the ambush coming. A Krell warrior lunged from the dust, its scythe-like claws slashing. Rico stumbled, the briefcase flying from his grip. The soldier fired, her rounds punching through chitin, but more emerged, a tide of black carapace and fury. He scrambled for the briefcase, his fingers closing around its handle as a claw grazed his ribs. Pain exploded, white-hot. The soldier dragged him behind a boulder, her hands steady as she injected him with a coagulant. Stay alive, her eyes said. Rico's wrist pad lit up, a priority message. Todrup, Henshak compromised, Patel captured, extraction failed. The world narrowed. Amara. He remembered her in the rain again, her fists clenched, her voice breaking. Rico, get to make everything a joke, not when people are dying. He'd told her she took herself too seriously. Now she was gone. The soldier shook him, her signals frantic. Move, now. Rico stood, his legs trembling. The briefcase was cracked, its contents spilling into the dust. Glitter, memes. The unopened surge trademark, Ken rolling to a stop at his feet. He stared at it, the red logo bleeding into the rust. Amara's voice, unbidden. Deco, get to quit, Rico. Not on them, not on me. He picked up the can, cracked it open. The fizz was flat, the syrup sweet and stale. He drank it anyway, the sugar coating his throat like a lie. Then he pulled the neural chip from his collar, the one she'd given him, years ago, after the fight. For when you're done running, she'd said. He slotted it into the briefcase. The hologram that erupted wasn't a meme. It was Amara's face, flickering, fragmented. Rico, get. Her voice was static, strained. Deco gen. The hack, it's in the pheromones. The Queen's frequency channel 9.7 GHz. You have to broadcast the payload. Now, he could see her somewhere in the dark, strapped to a Krell biopod, her skin threaded with neural filaments. Her eyes were calm, resigned. Deco gen. No time. They're coming. Do it. The connection severed. The soldier stared at him, waiting. Rico's hands shook. Duty or love, redemption or regret. He chose. The briefcase's projector flared, the hologram shifting. A single song, encoded, amplified, pulsing through the Krell's pheromone network. Never gonna give you up. The effect was instantaneous. The Krell froze, their limbs seizing, their pheromone tweets collapsing into static. The hive mind fractured, the song's relentless cheer a virus in their logic. They staggered, clawing at their antenna, their bioships spiraling into the dunes. Rico didn't cheer.
He collapsed against the rock, the briefcase clutched to his chest, his ribs screaming. The soldier gripped his shoulder, her eyes wide. Asterisk, what did you do? He didn't answer. Above them, the storm cleared, revealing the cold stars. Somewhere in the silence between them, Amara's voice lingered. Rico Vega. He wasn't sure if it was memory or hallucination. When the extraction team found him, he was still holding the briefcase, his fingers welded to the handle by dried blood and dust. They pried it loose, but the neural chip stayed, a fragment of her, embedded in the machine. As they carried him to the medevac shuttle, he looked back at the valley. The Krell were gone, their retreat a scar on the horizon. The dunes were quiet again, the wind smoothing over the blood, and the glitter and the echoes of a song that shouldn't have worked. Asterisk, redemption asterisk, he thought. Asterisk, tastes like cheap soda, and bad decisions. The shuttle door hissed shut. Somewhere, in the static between stars, Amara laughed.
Chapter 3. The Krell flagship hung in the void like a tumor, its asymmetrical hull bristling with spires of ossified resin and throbbing bioluminescent veins. From the viewport of the stolen Krell shuttle, Rico counted the pulses, slow, rhythmic, a heartbeat in the dark. The ship didn't look designed. It looked infected a cancer grown from the Queen's will metastasizing across the stars. He adjusted the stolen breather mask over his face, its filters clogged with the cloying stench of ammonia and decay. The air tasted like failure. They'd pulled him from the Martian dunes 3 hours ago, his ribs wrapped in biogel and his mind still ringing with Amara's static-laced voice. The medics had wanted to sedate him. He'd threatened to glitter bomb the infirmary. Now drifting toward the flagship in a vessel that smelled of bile and betrayal, he wondered if sedation might have been kinder. The shuttle docked with a wet, organic schluck tendrils of living resin snaking over the airlock to seal the breach. Rico's boots sank into the spongy floor as he stepped inside, the walls glistening with mucus-like secretions. This close to the hive mind's core, the pheromone channels were deafening, a psychic roar that buzzed in his molars, vibrating through his bones. His wrist pad flickered, its screen cracked but still functional. Neural sync at 9.7 gigahertz. She's in there. He didn't need the coordinates. He could feel her. Amara's presence was a splinter in his mind, sharp and persistent. He'd carried it since Mars, since the moment her transmission cut out and left him alone with the echoes of Rick Astley's voice. The Krell had taken her body, but her consciousness, stubborn, brilliant, infuriating, had fused with their network. She was a ghost in the machine now, a flicker of human chaos in the hive mind's sterile logic. And she was screaming. The corridors twisted, a labyrinth of pulsating membranes and rib-like arches. Bioluminescent spores drifted through the air, clinging to Rico's suit like ash. He followed the pheromone trails, their chemical signatures warped by the song still looping in the network. Asterisk, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. The Krell had tried to purge it, but irony was a resilient parasite. The Queen's brood lay scattered in his path, their carapaces cracked, antennae twitching erratically, some clawed at their own faces, mandibles clicking in discordant rhythms. Others simply curled into fetal positions, their pheromone tweets reduced to a single shuddering glyph, error, Rico stepped over them, his briefcase heavy in his grip. The glitter bombs were spent, the meme projectors fried. All that remained was the neural chip, Amara's chip, salvaged from the briefcase's ruins, its edges still flecked with his blood. He'd rewired it into a transmitter, a crude lifeline to whatever fragments of her survived in the network. "You're late," her voice hissed through the chip, brittle and distorted. "Traffic was hell," he muttered, ducking under a curtain of fibrous tissue. "You okay?" A pause. Define okay. He could picture her smirk, the way her eyes narrowed when she was towing the line between defiance and despair. The memory anchored him, A flare in the suffocating dark, the queen's chamber loomed ahead, a cavernous womb lined with pulsing sacs of nutrient fluid. The air reeked of fermentation, of birth and rot. At its center, suspended in a web of neural filaments, was the queen, a grotesque amalgam of insectoid physiology and biomechanical augmentation. Her abdomen distended, oozing larvae into a pool of viscous fluid, while her upper torso bristled with cybernetic implants, their wires burrowed deep into her thorax. Her face was a smooth, featureless plate, but Rico felt her gaze like a drill bit in his skull. Ambassador Vega, asterisk. The voice wasn't auditory. It was a pressure, a violation, forced directly into his synapses. Nesterisk. You persist. Why? He tightened his grip on the briefcase. You took something of mine. The queen's limbs shifted, a symphony of clicks and wet snaps. Ambassador, the engineer. She is resilient. A curiosity. We will dissect her defiance. Learn its shape. A sack near the ceiling split open. Amara hung inside, her body encased in a translucent biofilm, neural filaments snaking into her nostrils, her ears, the corners of her eyes. Her skin was gray, her breath shallow, but her fingers twitched, a weak, defiant pulse. Rico's chest tightened. He'd seen that twitch before. In the early days when they'd sparred in the directorate's gym, she'd tap her fingers against her thigh whenever she was plotting a counterattack. Asterisk 2 taps, faint left, 3 strike high. He'd never told her he'd noticed. Nesterisk, your love is a flaw, the queen hissed. Nesterisk, it blinds, it weakens. Yeah? Rico activated the neural chip, its interface flaring. Tell that to Rick Astley. He hurled the briefcase. It struck the pool of fluid, the impact triggering the chip's overload protocol. A shriek tore through the chamber. Amara's voice, amplified, weaponized, spliced with the song's relentless hook. Asterisk. Never gonna give. Never gonna give. The queen recoiled, her neural filaments thrashing. The biofilm around Amara dissolved, her body slumping into the pool. Rico dove, the fluid soaking through his suit, burning his wounds. He dragged her free, her weight familiar and terrible. Her eyes fluttered open, fogged with pain. Took you long enough, she rasped. You know me. He adjusted her in his arms, her breath shallow against his neck. Fashionably late, the queen's scream escalated, the chamber convulsing, membranes ruptured, larvae dissolving into acidic puddles. Rico staggered toward the exit, Amara's hand fumbling for the neural chip still embedded in the briefcase. Wait, she breathed. The network. It's still connected. I can. He knew what she meant, knew it in the way her fingers trembled, in the resignation that softened her face. She'd left him once. She'd do it again. Don't, he said. The word raw. Not like this. Her smile was faint. Blood dotted her lips. You don't get to veto my punchline. She seized the chip. The upload was instantaneous. Amara's body went rigid, her back arching, a scream trapped in her throat. Data streams erupted from the briefcase. Memes, songs, every viral absurdity Rico had ever crafted, now fused with her consciousness. The chamber flickered, holograms of dancing hamsters and cat videos erupting between the queen's thrashing limbs. Thakan, no. The queen's psychic wail tore through Rico's mind. Thakan, this is not logic. This is chaos, Rico whispered. Amara's eyes met his one last time, clear and calm. Then she dissolved, her body collapsing into pixels, her consciousness surging into the network. The chamber imploded, the shockwave hurling Rico into the corridor. He crawled. The ship was dying around him, its bioluminescence fading, its flesh blackening and curling like paper in a fire. The Krell were screaming, their hive mind unraveling into dissonant shrieks. Asterisk Rick Astley's voice echoed through the halls, spliced with Amara's laughter, a requiem for the end of an empire. The escape pod was where she'd said it would be, a human design, retrofitted into the Krell's biology. Rico collapsed into the pilot's seat, his hands trembling as he triggered the launch sequence. The pod tore free, the flagship's death throes painting the void in hues of violet and rot. On the view screen, the Krell fleet disintegrated, bioships spiraling into each other, or simply stopping, drifting. The song played on, relayed through every comms channel in the system. Asterisk, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. Rico slumped, his forehead pressed to the cold glass. The neural chip lay in his palm, its glow dim but persistent. He'd expected tears. Instead, there was only numbness, a hollowed-out quiet where her voice had been. His wrist pad buzzed, a message, encoded in a meme format he hadn't used in years, a pixelated heart, its edges frayed, but unmistakable. He didn't smile, didn't hope, but he saved the file. As the pod drifted toward the Martian rendezvous point, Rico closed his eyes, the chip's faint hum blurred with the song, with the memory of her fingers tapping against his palm. Asterisk, 2 taps, faint left, 3 strike high. Somewhere in the static between stars, the war was over. Somewhere, Amara was still laughing. Chapter 4. The victory parade on Earth smelled like burnt sugar and desperation. Confetti, shredded recycled plastic masquerading as celebration, drifted over the ruins of New Buenos Aires, catching in the skeletal remains of skyscrapers that had long since surrendered to entropy. Rico stood on the directorate's balcony, his dress uniform itching like a second skin, and watched the crowds below. They chanted his name, their faces upturned and glowing in the holographic light shows that painted the sky with his likeness. Asterisk, Ambassador of Chaos asterisk, the headlines called him. Asterisk, Savior of Mars asterisk. He wondered what they'd name him when they learned the cost. The neural chip in his pocket hummed faintly, a ghostly vibration against his thigh. He'd carried it since the escape pod, since the Krell flagship had collapsed into a silent bloom of debris. The medics had pried the briefcase from his hands, but the chip, Amara's chip, they'd let him keep. Istera's souvenir when had joked, not noticing how his fingers had tightened around it, how the edges had bitten into his palm, until blood welled. Now the chip's pulse was a metronome, steady and accusing. Asterisk, never gonna give you up. The balcony doors hissed open. A junior diplomat, her face still soft with the naivety of survival, offered him a datapad. The Krell envoy is here, sir. They're requesting terms. Rico didn't turn. Tell them to wait. But sir, the director. Tell them to wait. She retreated, heels clicking like gunshots. The crowds roared as fireworks exploded overhead. Green and gold, the colors of Earth's forgotten spring. Rico closed his eyes, and for a moment, he was back in the Martian storm, the dust clotting his lungs. Amara's voice fraying into static. Asterisk, you did good, Vega. He'd replayed those words until they'd worn grooves in his mind, until they'd become a prayer and a curse. He slipped the chip from his pocket. Its surface was scratched, its glow dimmed, but when he pressed his thumb to it, the hologram flickered, a pixelated heart, jagged and crude. It had appeared a week after the battle, transmitted through a Krell comms relay. No message, no context, just that stubborn broken shape, pulsing like a fist refusing to unclench. The director found him there, her silhouette sharp against the neon sky. They're not here to surrender, she said, her voice stripped of ceremony. They're here to beg. Rico smirked, the expression hollow. For what? A mercy they wouldn't have given us. For deletion. She handed him a data crystal. The Astley protocol. They want it erased. Their hive mind can't, process, it's unraveling them. He turned the crystal over, its facets catching the light. And we could own them, Rico. Their tech, their colonies, all of it. The chip burned in his hand. Own them. The phrase tasted like ash. Ownership was a myth, a joke. You didn't own a galaxy any more than you owned the silence between heartbeats. He pocketed the crystal,
I'll handle it. The Krell envoy waited in the old botanical gardens, where the last surviving earth trees strained toward artificial suns. The air here was thick, with the scent of decaying leaves and desperation. The envoy was smaller than he'd expected. A single drone, its carapace dull and cracked, pheromone tweets muted to a submissive gray. It clicked its mandibles, the translator collar around its neck spitting out jagged syllables. You. Request, cessation. The song. It, asterisk, asterisk burns asterisk, asterisk. Rico sat on a moss-covered bench, the chip warm in his palm. Funny. I thought you guys loved burning things. The drone shuddered, a droplet of amber fluid leaking from its joint. Lishan. The song is irrational. It, asterisk, 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 asterisk. Us, asterisk. He leaned forward, his shadow swallowing the creature. You took someone from me. You don't get to ask for asterisk anything asterisk. The drone's antenna quivered. The engineer. She remains. In the network. The song is her voice. You know this, asterisk. The admission struck him like a blade. He'd known, of course, in the quiet hours, when the nightmares subsided. He'd felt her, a flicker in the static, a laugh in the white noise between stars, but hearing it aloud, in the Krell's broken syntax, made it real, made it a wound. He stood, the bench creaking. Tell your queen this. The song stays. You want peace, live with it. The drone collapsed, its legs folding as if the words had weight. You are, asterisk, asterisk, cruel asterisk, asterisk. Rico walked away, the chip's pulse sinking with his heartbeat. Asterisk, cruel, asterisk, maybe, but cruelty was a language the Krell understood. They gave him an office in the directorate sublevels, far from the parades and the noise. The walls were bare except for a single holoframe, Amara's pixelated heart, frozen mid-beat. His negotiation briefcase sat on the desk, refurbished, its new contents curated. Memes, yes, but also schematics, neural sync codes and a vial of Martian dust. The diplomats came to him now, fresh-faced and hungry. They called him asterisk, sensei, asterisk, a joke he tolerated. He taught them to weaponize absurdity, to cloak strategy in chaos. The Krell think in straight lines, he'd say, tossing a glitter bomb to a recruit. So you gotta asterisk, swerve asterisk. At night he scoured the Krell's pheromone networks, chasing fragments of code that danced at the edge of recognition. A meme here, a chord there, a distorted asterisk, never gonna let you down asterisk, echoing through their hive channels. Once he found a message buried in a data stream, a gif of a sunflower, turning toward a non-existent sun, its petals disintegrating into pixels. He saved it beside the heart. The director called it obsession. He called it penance. When the Krell returned, they came quietly, a single bioship, unarmed, its hull scarred and brittle. It docked at Luna Station, where the stars were sharp and the silence absolute. Rico met them alone, his briefcase in hand, the chip a lodestone against his chest. The Queen's avatar was a projection, her form flickering, eroded by the song. The propose, an accord. She hissed, the words stuttering. The foe, retreat, forever. Rico set the briefcase on the docking bay floor, the metal ringing in the vacuum. Why? The avatar glitched, static bleeding through its edges. You, having, asterisk, asterisk, infected asterisk, 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 us, the song. It, asterisk, 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 we, cannot, asterisk, asterisk, evolve asterisk, asterisk. He opened the briefcase. Inside, beside the glitter bombs, was the data crystal, the Astley protocol. You want deletion, beg. The avatar froze, the docking bay lights dimmed, the ship's bioluminescence pulsing erratically. The quiz. These. The word was a crack in the universe. Rico lifted the crystal, its light refracting. in his eyes. For a moment, he saw Amara, not as a ghost or a memory, but as she'd been in the Martian trenches, her hands steady on a rifle, her voice calm. You don't get to quit, Rico. He crushed the crystal, the shards scattered, glittering like stardust. The song stays. You don't get to forget her. The avatar dissolved, the bioship's engines flaring as it retreated. On his wrist pad, a new signal blinked. A Krell data packet. Inside, a single file. The sunflower GIF, its petals now whole, turning toward a sun that burned impossibly bright. He returned to Mars one last time. The dunes were quieter now. The dust settled into new contours. He knelt at the edge of Gamma 7, where the bio-artillery had fallen, and emptied the vial of Martian soil into the wind. The red particles swirled, catching the thin sunlight, before drifting toward the stars. The chip's pulse was stronger here, its rhythm syncing with the planet's ancient heartbeat. He didn't know if Amara was alive, or if she'd become something else. A melody in the void, a joke only the cosmos understood. But as he stood, the briefcase in hand, he felt her, in the rust-colored haze, in the silence between breaths. Asterisk, 2 taps, faint left, 3 strike high. Asterisk, he boarded the shuttle, the pixelated heart, glowing on his desk. Below, the dunes stretched endlessly, a testament to resilience, to the audacity of persistence. Earth's warning still hung in the network, etched into the Krell's fading psyche. They'd remember, they'd learn, and if they didn't, Rico Vega, ambassador of chaos, reached into his briefcase. There was always more glitter.